Hello and welcome back to our new resistance campaign in Terra Invicta. As explained, this is designed to go to new players and explain some steps and what I do here. And we are going to look at research and projects in this video. So I'm not going to do any of the mission phases here and set up what we need to do. That's going to be in the next video when we expand our elite in Canada and try to go for the US, which is our long-term goal. I'm going to explain why we go for the US also in that video. But for now, let's have a look at research. So how does it work? We do see 3-star things over here. These will always be filled. So there's always a global research project. This is where every faction on Earth is contributing science to, which is basically pushing humanity's science advances forward. And then you have the resistance engineering project, which are your own things related to your faction. So you have a list of projects that can be researched here. We have a few available currently. We're going to pick the Alien Signatures project, which is a quest of us here. So we are going to invest a bit into this. So you can invest heavily or a little bit into it. As we can see here, we are pushing heavily into We Are Not Alone as of now. In fact, we are investing a little bit into everything. This has a downside because we are spreading our 108 science income per month that we currently have into everything. By the way, if your settings are different, you can go into settings here and change the gameplay show monthly incomes here. You can switch between daily or monthly incomes there. I'm using monthly incomes because it's a bit more useful for me. And I could, for example, change a different project here, like if I want to continue the audience research project to get more influence income. Or no, it's giving me a flat income, not a steady income. All research that I'm doing is spread out between these slots here. There's also a hint here that we do get plus 1% bonus research to alien projects, which is coming from our interactions with the aliens, our research, and our organizations and our space stations later. You can also see the benefits we gain here if you hover over your science income. For example, we do have 1% in military information and xenology. You can also see that in, for example, the monthly ledger here, where you can see where do you get these science incomes from. But everything we do in regards to science is going to get invested into these things. Which means if I want to maybe win this project here, We Are Not Alone, or this research, I maybe would need to invest everything I have into it. But the game even gives me the hint that I would still not win, because the servants are highlighted here, so it tells me that they are going to win here. So maybe I can do this here if I invest everything into this one. No, it doesn't change either. So I will not win any race. It means that the other factions do have a flat out higher research output currently than I have. We definitely need to take control of more nations and therefore more research to win, for example, one of these races here. Now, why do I push We Are Not Alone? The reason for this is that these researchers, the global researchers, unlock new projects. So you want to get these ones done. And then you can see in the description, completion may unlock the following technologies and projects for research. Clandestine cells. And maybe you remember where that already popped up. Exactly, in the counselor screen. We must develop clandestine cells project to recruit a 5th counselor. So we want to get to that project as quickly as possible, the clandestine cells, to get our 5th agent on the map later. Or counselor, I always say agent or counselor. To have 5 people doing actions on Earth itself. Taking control of nations, researching in nation stabilizing and whatever, declaring war, whatever we need to do here. So that's exactly what we want to do. And that's why it's our main priority here. We could decide to push everything into this, and I'm tempted to do this as of now. We don't need to rush alien signatures here, but I'm not 100% sure yet. I think I'm going to do it like this right now, because we do not have to rush anything. We want rather take control of Canada in peace. And when someone wins this research, so he or this faction has invested most into this, then it can pick the next one. That's why you want to win the race, because then you can decide what is going to be next on the agenda for every faction and the global research. And that's where the tech tree comes in. You can see here that the tech tree is quite large. That's only the global research, which has a lot of categories, because you could go into things like laser development, space tourism, propulsion concepts, and later you can go into things like Titanic spacecrafts and fusion techs and so on. So it goes far into the future, and when you win a slot, you can pick from those which are available, which are the highlighted ones here, and pick what you maybe want to do. The goals of what we maybe want to achieve to get our space game going, I will put into a later video, because I just want to explain the core concept here. So we want to win, or at least get to clandestine cells as quickly as possible to get our next counselor going. And if we can win one of these global research slots, we can then decide what to do next. For example, we maybe want to go into something like outpost hubs, orbital shipbuilding, space tourism, or maybe into something like mission to Mars, so that we can go to Mars sooner, and whatever we want to do here. Or this one opens up things like arrival psychology, arrival domestic politics, so things that depend on the aliens that now we know that they are, that they exist, and what does it change on our political landscape on Earth. And all of these kind of global researchers will have projects connected to this, and we have to make decisions what we want to prioritize here. So the global priority will be to go into space, get to the moon again, get to Mars, fight the aliens in space, and build ships so that we can fight them actually. And for that we do have a lot of research to do, because putting a fighting vehicle into space is nothing we ever did so far. So that's going to require a lot of designing and researching first, which is going to be our priority here. Lastly, to talk about projects again, we do see a modifier down here. Our counselors have orgs that grant 2 engineering projects. These orgs at our hubs are giving a bonus of 10% to research speed for all our projects. We can see here that it doesn't show up here. So we do have a special modifier which is only for our own projects. We can have that because we do have on our counselor, which we recently equipped with 2 orgs, it has this project symbol. And these give 5% research each at the beginning. Eventually it goes down when you go over 100% bonus. You can get this from orgs, you can get it also from space stations later, which is going to be very important later on. And that's something how you increase your research speed as well, because we do have 1% from here and 10% from here, which means in total we get plus 11% science output into this investment here. So we can already see that this Alien Signatures project gets 0.5 science, 55 science per day, while Mission to Space only gets barely 4.96 or barely 0.5. So this is already the difference between the science bonuses that you get, which increase your science investment. That's very important to keep an eye on, because you always want to get as many science bonuses as well, but also as much flat bonus or flat science output as possible, because it's going to speed up everything significantly if you stack these kind of modifiers over time by doing things like buying organizations here or buying later space stations which give research bonuses. Like if you do in a research lab into space. And that hopefully doesn't get shot down by aliens, so that's what you want to achieve, of course. And now how do you get science output at the beginning? By taking control of nations again. So Canada here, which we are trying to break into, has a total of 84 science output if we control it. We want to get the US because it has 600. And there are other nations which also produce a lot of science. You can get this in the ledger here. So for example, China has the highest base value, and America with almost 600 is the second one here. And then as you can see, it goes down quickly, but also the nations get a lot smaller by then. Like for example, Italy is producing 100, but it's of course a lot smaller than the US. And that also plays a role because these control points here will cost us. They cost us a resource called control points. So this point here costs us 12, and American US point costs us almost 35 here. And Italy, for example, costs only barely 15. And what we want to keep an eye on is, okay, how much does it cost us to control a nation with the resources it has, and how much do we get in return? And that's why I recommend US at the beginning. It has the best incomes of all nations here on Earth for the price it costs us. So you want to take control of the US because it's comparably easy compared to, for example, India or China, which you still need to build up further, even though they do have the massive population base they have. So they have a potential for being extremely strong later on, but early on, if you want to get into space quickly, you want to go US, because then you can have a much better lead into things. Yeah, and that's all we need to know for science for now. I'm going to talk about what to do next when we reach We Are Not Alone, which is going to be a few mission phases in. And next step, we are going to continue breaking into Canada and then into the US. So that's going to be our next episode.